What is up, YouTube? Doomwake here. Welcome back to another video on the channel. As you can see, we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. Before we continue, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Let's try and get this video to 100 likes. Can we do that? I would appreciate that. I have an idea for a new weekly video series. Maybe twice a week, haven't decided yet. But I wanted to see kind of how this goes, what the reaction on this video is, and maybe we'll do either one for each challenge. Haven't decided yet, but this is kind of like, I guess you can call it a reaction-ish video, talking about what's doing well in the metagame, stuff like that. Okay, let's get into it. So the Modern Challenge happened yesterday. What is the Modern Challenge, you ask? It is a weekly event on Magic Online, sort of like the way that the Magic Online event structure is. Like, leagues are kind of step 1, challenges are step 2, qualifiers step 3, mocks step 4, something like that. So it's like, in terms of the ladder on the hierarchy of the Magic Online events, in terms of prolific, how prolific they are. They happen twice a week, once on Saturday, once on Sunday, and they usually get some pretty good attendance. They are usually pretty competitive. People like to bring really good decks, and a lot of people stream it. So what I'm going to try and do is weekly, at least once a week, maybe twice a week for both challenges. I'm going to kind of do like a recap of the deck list, what I think is what went well in the deck list. You'll kind of see how everything plays out within the video. But just to, I want to see how this goes. Let me know in the comments, did you enjoy the video? So the challenge happens yesterday. There was a lot of streamers in the top 8, as you can see. I won't spoil anything. Aspiring Spike, myself, Demonic Tutors, Canister, and Sneaky Mazzato all streamed the event. We were all streaming the top 8, and it was a lot of fun. So now I'm just going to go through kind of one by one the deck list, what I like about it, if there's anything I don't like, stuff like that. So just kind of like a reaction video. So in first place, you'll see Aspiring Spike. So first place in the event. I know he's been playing this Esper Reanimator deck on his stream over the past week or so. He's been doing pretty well with it, and I know he likes the deck a lot, and he just kind of crushed the tournament. I think he lost one match in the Swiss, and very handily won the top 8. So this deck list it's nice. It's really clean. It looks very similar to the previous versions of Reanimator that I'm sure you've seen before. A couple videos in the channel. Check those out, by the way. But you'll notice there's no counterspell. So we've removed the counterspell aspect, so we're no longer trying to play a controlling game. And we are just kind of trying to shove on the mono, like all in on the Reanimator stuff, and we're even playing with Grief plus Ephemerate, which is nice because even in the draws where you don't draw Ephemerate, you can just Grief them to clear the way for your Persist, which is pretty cool. So I like a lot of what's going on here. I love Solitude as well in combination with Ephemerate. Really, really clean deck list. The second rights is pretty good. I feel like I'd want to play 4 Prismatic Ending main deck. The one thing that I will say is the absence of Thoughtseize, which is, one of the... There is a common line with the Reanimator deck that sometimes you do Thoughtseize yourself on turn 1, which obviously you can't do with Grief, so you do lose that aspect of it. But Grief is a lot better, especially in combination with Ephemerate, so I think I'm fine with that swap, because you have the Thoughtseize in the sideboard anyways for when those are good against the combo decks. One thing I will say is the land count's a little low. I was watching some of Spike's VODs, and I noticed he was kind of short on lands a little bit, so it might be better off to go up on lands. That's one thing I will notice, but yeah, just a really awesome deck list, very clean. A lot of good stuff to like here, and definitely one of the best versions, if not the best version of the Reanimator deck that I've seen so far. In second place, yours truly. So I ended up playing the challenge yesterday on stream. I try to stream the Saturday challenge every week, so if you want to check that out, I'll drop a link to the Twitch stream in the description below. But this is the busted deck, the deck list that I posted a video with this deck a couple days back. Yo Rhinos, as we're calling it. So it's Yorion Rhinos. Now, I've gotten a lot of flack over the past couple of days. I want to clear the air a little bit. So first and foremost, The main argument for not adding 20 cards to the Rhinos deck is you draw Footfalls less often in your opening hand, which there are a lot of matchups where suspending turn 1 Footfalls is good. My counter argument to that is there's a lot of Teferis going around, so suspending footfalls on turn 1 is not always going to be the best. And the nice thing about playing 80 cards is you draw it on turn 2, on turns 2 and above less often, because crashing footfalls on any turn but turn 1 is usually pretty bad. So, you might draw it in your opening hand less often, but you're also less likely to draw it on turns 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, and that's a lot better because you never want to draw it past turn 1. So that's my counter argument to that. But I just really think this deck is just I don't like to use the term strict, but I think this is just a lot better than the teamer versions because you have a much higher threat density. You get to play with, Omnath and Solitude. You're a Yorion deck, so you can do that kind of stuff. You also get to play Teferi, which is unbelievable in the Heads Up Cascade matchup. Really good against control, stopping counter spells. And I've just been so impressed with this deck. The mana base is a little sketchy. I'm not sure about the lands that I'm not sure about are the 2 pathways, the Sulfur Falls, and the second Reflecting Pool. I have yet to find a good suggestion for the rest those last 4 land spots. So if you get any ideas, please let me know. But I think this is just a pretty natural evolution of the Rhinos deck. I've even seen some success. There was like an NRG paper event yesterday that this top 8'd as well. So I think this is going to be pretty common to see this moving forward. I don't know if it's going to push out Teamer altogether, but I think this is going to be the go-to version for the next couple of weeks. So be on the lookout for that. Canister in third place with the deck that he's been playing a bunch, the 4-color Yorion value deck. Just a lot of good value cards. Teferi Wrenn in 6. Eternal Witness plus Ephemerate is pretty sick. He's still going with the Time Warp. I know he likes the Time Warp a lot, especially in combination with Witness and Ephemerate. Can allow you to take given in turns. Also, the Time Warp is nice because it gives you something to do with Wrenn in 6, so that your Wrenn in 6 is now just a win condition when it gets to Ultimate, which is pretty cool. And then just all of the good cards. Fury, Omnath, Solitude, Ice Fang. We're going, 4 Prismatic Ending, Expressive Iteration, that kind of stuff. Just really good value deck. Also, the Abundant Growth and Spreading Seas, which is pretty good with Yorion, so some more stuff to do there. I know he's been a pretty big proponent of Abundant Harvest, which I think I haven't seen a ton of lists playing, but it makes a lot of sense because it sort of allows you to up your land count while also making you less likely to flood out if the game goes longer because you can just name non-land if you already have enough lands, which is pretty cool. I noticed he had an Emrakul the Promised End in his sideboard. I didn't watch enough of his stream to know what that's for. My guess would be Control in the mirror match, but it was kind of funny. I saw him bringing it against Kane in the top 8 match. I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, just a really good. This is kind of like the evolution of the Elementals deck. A deck that he was a big proponent of, but just kind of more good cards and Yorion with all the blink stuff. So really powerful deck list. Crusherbot BG Hammer Time. Don't think there's much to talk about this particular... Oh, no. This is the person who didn't play Luris. Okay. Yeah, so I know Crusherbot has been playing a ton of Hammer Time, and I believe they're a proponent of not playing Luris in favor of Nettle Assist and Sword of Fire and Ice. My one critique would be if you're not choosing to Luris, I wonder why you wouldn't want a Batterskull or a Cauldron somewhere. Now, I get that you can cast Nettle Assist and Sword, but at least one big thing to tutor for, just something to just give you to just have Stoneforge Mystic be a KO on the spot sometimes. But yeah, most of the similar stuff you'll see here. Paradise Mantle, I guess, is unique, but a lot of stuff that you would normally see out of a Hammer Time deck. Really powerful strategy. Definitely one of the good decks. Definitely one of the better decks in the format. Cyber pretty interesting here. Defense Grid and Silence. I have to imagine that Silence is for Cascade, Defense Grid for Control. But interesting to see those decks. The Sword of Sinew and Steel, huh? As well as a Sword of War and Peace. There's a lot of cool stuff going on here. Again, I'm not too familiar. I'm not super in on the Hammer Time stuff, so I don't know exactly what the correct, but there's a lot of cool stuff going on here. My critique would be I would want a Cauldron somewhere. That's what I would say about that. Demonic Tutors, who we've actually played against twice in the tournament, once in the Swiss, once in the top 8. I was watching his stream a little bit. He's playing Yawgmoth, and I saw that he ended up cutting one of the messengers for a main deck Endurance, which seemed like it was pretty good. Yeah, there's a lot of decks going around where Endurance is just pretty good, and you can shuffle some stuff in. There's definitely some unique spots that come up there. And good in the mirror because you can stop the Yawgmoth chain, which is pretty cool. If they go for the Yawgmoth kill, you can stop that stuff. Um, and then, just like a lot of basically all four of. He's got a main deck Ooze, again, the main deck Endurance, 3 Grist, 4 Chord, 4 Evolution. Just a really clean deck list with some pretty cool one-off choices that I definitely like a lot. Sideboard, he has an Obstinate Bailoff, which is funny, or excuse me, a Thrun the Last Roll. That's the one he brought in against me. I like that card a lot for the control matchup, specifically against blue-white. The Supreme Verdict doesn't kill it, and it does kind of get around Solitude quite a bit, because obviously Solitude can't kill it, and it attacks through the Solitude, which is pretty cool. So, nice little addition there. And then the full 4 copies of Endurance after sideboard is a pretty big statement, too. 2 Necromentia for the Cascade matchup. Yeah, a lot of good stuff to like there. ETW for the win with your traditional Teamer Crashing Footfalls on the Season Pyromancers. Love it. Basically, the same deck list that I was playing for a while, except they cut the 1 Murktide region for the 3rd Prismari command. Even has the Chandras in the sideboard, which I had, so definitely just a big proponent of this deck list. Again, I still think I like the Yorion version better, but time will tell if that is here to stay or not, but I think it is. Sneaky Misato, friend of mine, Kane, playing the Canister deck list. I think this is pretty much the exact same deck list. I think he has another Harvest instead of the 4th Ephemerate, and I think almost everything else is the same, but this is just the Canister, even as the Emrakul. Yeah, he probably just copy-pasted from Canister, maybe changed 1 or 2 cards, but this is basically the Canister deck list. So 2 copies of that in the top 8, which is definitely worth noting. I do think this is kind of the natural evolution to the Elementals deck. I think Elementals is probably still okay, but this deck seems to be doing a lot of the same good stuff that Elementals was doing, but just gets to play way much more of a value game with Yorion and just more good cards. So it's kind of just like we're at the point where just what can't we add Yorion to? We're kind of at that point. Affinity in 8th place. I didn't actually take a look at this deck list. So 4 Monitor, 4 Companion, Signal Pass, 2 Enforcer, 1 Gingerbrute. This looks pretty close to the last deck list that I had. I feel like I had 1 less land, but man, this is really, really close to where I was. 4 Galvanic Blast, 4 Thought Monitor, no Thoughtcast. Yeah, this looks pretty close to where I was at. I would definitely play an Aether Spellbomb in the main deck. I'm a huge fan of that card with blue Urza Saga decks. Probably end up cutting maybe the 2 Mirror Forces and play 2 more Saga targets, because we're a little low on Saga targets. I guess we have Shadow Spear, Drum Jar, but I want to get more utility out of my Saga. I like the Experimental Frenzies. I like the 4 Rebukes. Yeah, a lot to love here. I would play the Aether Spellbomb for sure, I think. We got 9th place with Jund Saga. Deck list looks pretty stock here. Anything worth noting? 2 main deck spell bombs. I feel like that's more than the 1 normally, but I also feel like you would want to play more Ren and 6s, because I feel like one of the biggest draws to this deck is the fact that you have Ren plus Saga and the game goes long, but only having 2 Ren and 6s. I don't know. I feel like I'd probably cut a spell bomb for a 3rd Ren and 6. I like the 6 discard spells. I like the split of removal. Everything else I pretty much like. Sideboard. 1 Cleansing Wildfire is interesting. Yeah, most of the sideboard I like. I'm not sold on this 1 Wildfire, but most of the stuff I like. We got Keyline, 10th place, another Yawgmoth deck, which is pretty similar to Demonic Tutors. I think they cut a land for a Thoughtseize, and they cut the Endurance for a second Messenger. I believe everything else is the same. And 2 Necromentia, Liberator. Yeah, I think this might be the exact same deck list with, 2 changes. So, Yawgmoth, very good deck list. One thing I will say about Yawgmoth, it requires a lot of repetition. So if you want to play Yawgmoth, definitely get your reps in with that one. But very powerful deck. We got blue-white control with Kahira. Anything worth noting here? 1 Jace, 2 Big Tef, 3 Verdict, main deck Chalice, 3 Spreading Seas. I know that Wafo's a big fan. I think he has 4 main deck Spreading Seas, if I remember correctly, which Spreading Seas just seems like an awesome card in the metagame. Not only against Urza Saga, but a lot of decks just have, especially these 4-color decks, have very specific dual lands, and if you can cut them, if they draw a basic island and you Spreading Seas them, they just can't cast Omnath on time. So, Spreading Seas seems really awesome in the format. And definitely a good deck list for sure. And then we got, here he is, the man himself, Wafo Tapa. Yeah, so this is the Yorion version, but Yorion with more cantrips, Omens, Spreading Seas, Wall of Omens, to go along with the Yorion. I think this is probably would be my preferred version of blue-white control, because I think you're much better in the heads up when you have Yorion versus Kahira, because you just draw more cards and generate more value. That being said, you draw your important cards less often, so there's a bit of give and take with that. 4 Deluge is definitely a big statement. I do think that card's quite good, but 4 is a lot. 1 Cryptic, 4/4. Yeah, just a really... This looks like the Curryvore deck, very similar to that won the challenge a couple weeks back. And then we got 13th place, another Kahira version of Blue White. This one's on 4 Spreading Seas, 4 Verdict. This one looks more cleaner. This is probably where I would be if I was playing Kahira. Sideboard. One thing I will note about the Yorion version is you want to focus on 4-ofs in the sideboard, because when you're playing a Yorion deck and you play some 1-ofs, unless they're like shoring up stuff in the main deck and additional copies, you're so much less likely to draw those cards in the sideboard when you play 1-ofs. So that's something worth noting. Blue-White Kahira, everything. 3 Shark Typhoon in the sideboard. That's kind of cool. So going up to 4 in the 75 in those control mirrors. I like that a lot. Like the Elspeth. Yeah, pretty good mix of stuff. We got Boy Triton in 14th place. This is blue-red Murktide. Looks pretty stock to me. Anything worth noting here? No, not too much worth noting. I mean, the 1 Spell Pierce, the 1 Explosives, those are kind of like the flex spots, so depending on what you expect, you could probably change those up, but definitely a good deck. And then we got some more Hammer Time. This is main deck Confidant Hammer Time. Looks pretty good. Again, I'm gonna try and go. I'm already 16 minutes in, so we're gonna go a little bit faster when we get through after we pass the top 16. But because I don't want this video to go too long. But yeah, this looks pretty similar to the list. I forgot who was playing, but they top 4. I think they top 4 the challenge last week, or maybe it was the PTQ. But yeah, main deck Confidant. I actually like the version of main deck Confidant a lot more. You definitely get a lot of mileage out of Confidant in this deck, and I'm a pretty big fan of that card in this deck. And then we got Belcher. I think this is just exactly Sodek's list from last week. I believe it is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is just Sodek's. I feel like Sodek had more Furies, but I can't remember. But yeah, this deck is looking to play the kind of cheat on lands, I guess, as it were. They're playing lands that aren't actually lands to flip with Belcher. It's got a lot of rituals, Manamorphoses, Ironcrag Feet to make 7 mana. Ironcrag Feet is just a perfect combination with Belcher. And then you can set up some Recross the Path piles, which basically flips over cards until you hit a non-land, but the joke is, or until you hit a land, the joke is you don't have land, so you get to flip your entire deck and stack your entire deck, so you can set up Reforge the Soul and do some stuff that way, which is pretty cool. Temur Footfalls. This is the Bogamese main deck Cryptic Command. I'm not a fan of main deck Cryptic Command in Temur. I know that Bogamese loves it, but I would prefer to play more Prismari commands. I just think that it's cheaper and has more utility for the most part, I think. I don't know, maybe not more utility is not the right word, but helps filter through cards that you might not really want in specific matchups like Fury and extra Footfalls later down the line, stuff like that. Caladan playing Confidant Hammer Time. This looks like pretty much the exact same deck list. We got a Blacksmith skill. That's kind of cool. I haven't seen that one before. Unearth in the sideboard. That's kind of cool. We got X-File, who is on Jund Saga. This looks very similar to what we were... See, this is more where I would want to be. 4 Wrenn and 6, yes. I think a lot of other stuff is the same, but they cut the Spellbomb and the Kroxa for 2 Wrenn and 6. Yeah, I like those. I like that change a lot. I think I would recommend probably something closer to this if you were going to play Jund Saga. Definitely a good deck. Pygonti playing the Canister deck, even got the signature Time Warp, 27 lands, 3 Harvest. This looks more... This is what I think Kane was playing, Sneaky Misato. We got some Burn. Burn with 4 Flame Rift. Wow, I didn't see that. 4 copies of Flame Rift is definitely a statement. I wonder what do they cut for Flame Rift? Oh, they're playing Bauble too. So playing Bauble Flame Rift over Skullcrack and Riftbolt? Yeah, so cut Riftbolt, Skullcrack for Flame Rift Bauble. I don't know if I like that. I feel like you'd still want to play Riftbolt. I don't mind cutting Skullcrack, but I feel like you'd want to play Riftbolt. Some more Jund Saga. All these decks look pretty much the same. Third Ren, 2 Spellbomb, cut the Croxa. Yeah, I would just go minus a Spellbomb plus a Ren probably, and that's where I would want to be. All these decks look pretty much the same, though. This is Hammer Time with no Bobs, Givers, a Smith. I feel like I'd rather be on the Bob version, but Giver is pretty good in some matchups, too, so I definitely don't mind that. Oh, the sideboard. Okay. It's so funny because last week, I think it was somebody who had top-8'd with Knight of... Or what was it? Knight of Infamy, the 2-1 black creature that has pro-white, but it's actually not a combo because Sigarda's Aid makes it so you can't equip it. So you need to play something that has Hexproof from white, not protection from white. So worth noting there. Blue-white control. We got Kahira. This is only 1 Chalice. Interesting. 4 Spreading Seas. Only 2 Verdicts. Some of these numbers are a little interesting. I feel like I'd want to be on more Chalices, but I could see arguments for either way. We got some more Teamer Footfalls, Cryptic Command, Seasoned Pyromancer. Again, not a huge fan of Cryptic Command. I don't mind 4 Dead Gone. That card I've been more and more impressed with playing the Teamer version, so I don't mind 4 copies of that. This, I would not recommend that. That is one thing I saw that Bogomese was playing this in a sideboard. The burn matchup is not great, but I would definitely not play Weather the Storm. That is one thing I am very anti-Weather the Storm. I get the idea, Shardless into Weather the Storm, gain 6 life. Problem is, you don't pressure them. You know, you're playing a Shardless, you're not casting Rhinos, you're just playing a 3-mana 2-2 that gains 6 life. Unless you're following that up with pressure, it's not going to be good enough. Also, if they have an Eidolon, it's not even that good. So I would not recommend playing Weather the Storm. Just rounding this out, we got some more Yawgmoth. We got... This is Creativity with an Emissary and an Emrakul. Lots of one-ofs. I'm not too in tune with this, in tune with this deck, so I don't know exactly what about these numbers are correct. We're just gonna go through these. We're gonna breeze through these last couple ones. Bring to Light Scapeshift with 4 Grazer. I saw this deck did well last week, which looked pretty interesting. I might have to try that at some point this week. We got pretty much the same exact deck list, back to back. Pretty funny. We got more Teamer Footfalls, playing less Furies. I don't like that as much. 1 Jace, main deck Blood Moon. Not a big fan of that. We got some Amulet with Karn the Great Creator. I know that Pumpkin Wine has been doing very well with Karn Amulet, so definitely a good deck. And then coming in 32nd place, we got some weird red-black... Persist, Malekith, Rebirth, Undying. Okay, so we're doing Red, Black, Rebirth, Undying Evil to get back our Evoke Elementals in combination with Fury and Grief. That's kind of cool. Maybe something worth exploring down the road as well. So that's it. That was a lot. That was 32 deck lists that we went through. But I kind of wanted to just give you an idea of the snapshot of the Magic Online metagame. We might do this weekly, we might do this twice a week for each challenge, depending. If you enjoyed the video, let me know, would you enjoy this type of stuff weekly? Again, just to give you an idea of where the modern metagame is, the Magic Online metagame, how it maybe lines up with your paper metagame, and just to kind of give you an idea of what decks are doing well, so maybe you can bring one of these to your local tournament. Anyways, if you made it to the end of the video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.